It is the ATB show at the buzzer. Adam, Rubber Shoes, and the long-awaited return of Mother Shoes.
Yes,
Welcome to the
finally.
show, Mother Shoes.
I
All right,
te-
we're
I
very excited to have
teased
her.
the on all the social. I said that we could have a guest. I didn't say
Yeah,
specific because last time it blew up in our face. So
we can never
I figured,
guarantee a
Wow.
guest, but we're
Yeah,
really
last
excited that
time
you're here.
it was called Tyler Needed Food.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Tyler
My
needed
son
the-
took precedence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important to feed little shoes. I mean, he's a big guy, so he needs
Yeah.
his food. His food.
Yeah, he
all right,
does.
go to atbshow.com, check out all the socials. You'll get Rubber Shoes rant wrap up. We've wrapped up the jersey of the day, correct? We are fully officially wrapped up, right?
yes, no
Finally.
more.
Okay, that's
No more
so
until I buy more.
Steph's face is like, you're not buying anymore. What's wrong with you? Why are you buying more?
Oh, they'll be. It never ends.
I know.
All
know.
right, I'm
Yeah,
just.
it does never end.
just-
do you,
That's
do you have this giant
accurate.
boat around your house now, like with all the jerseys that are out? Where are they stored? Or
still haven't-
is he good to put them back in the closet when he's done with each individual jersey?
I
Well,
have to clean out said closet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, there's
Maggie.
a kitty cat.
Maggie, down.
Maggie wants to be on the show in a big
Yeah.
way. Rubber Shoes, hit us with the AAA work trucks, please.
Okay. Yes, it's we are brought to you by AAA Work Trucks, your one-stop shop for all your work truck needs. If it goes in or on a vehicle, it's a good bet AAA can take care of for you. Give them a call at 866-783-6222 or check them out online at aaaworktrucks.com.
Excellent. And were the folks from AAA Work Trucks at the Celtics game last night?
I know Joey was.
Okay.
Joey goes to he splits the season tickets with his uncle.
Okay.
They usually go to the Western Conference teams together because those teams only come in once,
Right.
and then they split up the rest of the seats. And
that makes sense. I never thought to do it that way. Yeah, that makes sense.
Depending who's available, he goes. He gets his half of the tickets and he goes definitely, unless it's pretty much something's got to be dragging him away from it to not to go.
Yeah,
he likes to go to every single game that he has the tickets for.
So do we want to start there with the Celtics? I mean, we could start there or the Bruins. Both, the good news is usually this time of year we're talking Patriots. We don't have to really talk about the Patriots.
So
No.
do you
really don't.
want to start with the good and end with the bad, or start with the bad and end with the good?
Why don't you pick? You dive us into the bad. How about we dive into the bad?
Yeah, let's start with the Patriots. So it's been a horror show. I have not been in Bill We Trust for a couple seasons now.
Wow.
And so I know Timmy is, Adam is, Stephanie is not an in Bill We Trust person. What are you?
Are you talking to me?
I'm asking Adam. Yes. Adam, what are you?
I thought you said I
Stephanie
was.
is not.
No, I'm totally in Bill We Trust. 100%. You brought me
Really?
6 Super Bowls in my
No.
short life.
So who
Go
brought
ahead.
you 6 Super Bowls is Tom Brady.
Oh, it's a
What happened to your
combination.
camera, Steph?
Yeah, Stephanie's frozen. Well, you can still hear her though, so that's good.
The cat was up here, and I have no clue how to fix
Oh
it.
shit! So,
Oh no!
all right, let me run in the other room.
Studio LA, Studio C is subject to
She
cat
legit was up here,
prowls. Oh my
and
god!
yeah, she
The professionalism on the ATV show is just out of this world. It's just
I
I
don't
mean
know.
we've got
She
cats
was
crawling
here.
all over our keyboards.
so the problem is that she's a lap kitty.
Oh
And-
yeah. So she's all over you.
She's constantly like laying on me. Oh, thanks, Bill.
There you go. You're back. Oh,
Wait,
now you're
there
gone.
I
Now
am.
you're back.
Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
Hey!
Thank goodness the
Good thing you have
IT
tech
man
support
works here.
right there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Rubber Shoes
No,
usually is
so-
pretty good. Go ahead. Go ahead. What were you saying about Bill
So-
Belichick?
I think I'm not saying that I think he didn't have anything to do with any of the Super Bowl wins. However, I think that if they had gone with another quarterback, not the greatest of all time, the majority of those rings would not exist.
So play this game, right? Let's say Peyton Manning for whatever reason, came to the Patriots and not Tom Brady.
Yeah,
You're saying you think Peyton Manning would have had like his 2, but he wouldn't have had 6.
No, he probably would have. I would have give him 1 or 2 more, but not the 6.
Okay.
It. When I look at, I mean, so this is the thing. I feel like that when Tom Brady was here, we had good talent, but he didn't always surround him with the greatest weapons because Tom could compensate for a person not being top level. So
Okay.
like when you look at Tua in Miami,
Yeah.
they've surrounded him with Waddle, with Tyreek Hill. He has a lot of people around him to help him make him look better. Now, Tom Brady could take the lesser quality people and make them look better because that's how good he was. So Bill has always had a habit of cheaping out, whether it's him or it's Robert Kraft. I don't know. I think it's an equal hand in hand. So he still thinks he can go and get the bargain basements, and he thinks that because he's that good of a coach, he can make up the difference. And he's proving that that's not true in the past few years.
So here's my counterpoint to that. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Brady definitely covers up a lot of, bad things that a team does just because of who he is, right? I mean, you don't come back from 28-3 with Mac Jones. That doesn't happen.
I don't even think Peyton Manning could do that.
No, you're probably right. I think Brady's probably the only guy that probably could do that in the history of the NFL. In fact, he is the only quarterback that's ever done it. What I would say, a couple of things. One is, I think he did surround Brady with a lot of weapons. You had Gronk, you had Edelman, you had Amendola. Like, let's not forget that these guys are,
oh no, I'm not
bordering on Hall of Fame qualities.
Yep.
Randy Moss, Dante Stallworth at the time, Wes Welker. All these guys are good, solid receivers. Plus, the defense was out of this world for much of the last 2 decades, right? So we've had quite a lot of luck. And by all accounts, if we had Matthew Judon and we had Christian Gonzalez, we'd have a strong, if not dominant, defense this year, right? And it doesn't make
it'll
up
probably only be about maybe 2 more wins.
Well, right, because we have no offense, right? So
correct, because even without Judon and Gonzalez, their defense still is holding opponents. What the past couple of weeks has been under 20 points. Yeah.
Right.
So you still have that, but the offense is such a debacle. And how do you not see that going into the year that you needed to do something? And we did nothing, and he keeps throwing Mac Jones out there. Why wasn't he benched for this past week? Why are you putting him out there to just pull him the half? It's ridiculous.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. And I will say that I think we stayed with, his stubbornness is one of the things that is really going to get in the way of him having any success in New England anymore. Because, I mean, Mac Jones should have been benched 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. I mean, I think everybody could see that, right? The one thing is that Mac Jones had a really strong rookie year, like a really good rookie year, made the Pro Bowl, as an alternate, but still made the Pro Bowl. And so then you look at the second year he's here, and that's like a, sophomore slump. And you're like, okay, well, now we have some, we have a good year and a bad year. Let's see what he does.
Also, the coaches that he gave him last year were ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So I think that, he stayed with Mac way too long. I think that his stubbornness on the coaching staff, on the offense has been, just a glaring problem. But that being said, he is still a genius on the defensive side of the ball. He is still a coach that has coached circles around most of the NFL. Who are you going to bring in that's going to be better than him? Gerard Mayo, he's on the staff. He's on the staff right now. I'd rather see them that much better.
Bring in a offensive-minded coach.
Like who?
The offense. I don't know his name, but the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Possibly he's a McVay protege.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I mean, look at the guy down in Miami. So I think Bill is still in the mindset that you can win with defense like he did with the Giants, like he did with, yes, Brady wasn't the reason why they won all the Super Bowls. There were really good defenses, but I don't think you can win that way anymore. You need to be able to go toe to toe. Although the Super Bowl against the Rams was what, 10-6, I think they won. So
13, wasn't it 13-6?
I know
No, it's
it was
more than that.
low scoring.
Yeah, but then you
So it
also look at
happened,
those
but I
early
don't think it can
Super
happen
Bowls.
anymore.
But the early Super Bowls, that wasn't his defense. Wasn't a lot of that Bill Parcells defense.
Well, a lot of those
The
players
early ones.
Yeah, the
left over
players were,
from
yeah.
Parcells, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I just don't think, personally, I don't think you change. Like, here's the thing: the team is such a mess right now. I don't think you change the coach and it changes the team.
no, I don't. I agree.
So for me, here's a guy who 20 years of incredible success with Brady, no question, with with McDaniels, with all of the guys we've talked about that were supporting him as the head coach. I don't think you just ditch the guy because he's had 2 bad seasons in a row. So that's how I look at it.
Okay, so but who's responsible for the mess right now? You don't put any of that on Belichick. And then you look at Tom Brady left and he won a Super Bowl. Since Tom Brady has left, he had no backup plan. He wanted Tom gone, got his wish, and this team has declined rapidly. And that's a good part of because of the things he's done or hasn't done. So at what point do you say, I've seen enough? Now, I agree. You could fire him tomorrow and they're still going to stink the rest of the year.
Right.
And they're probably going to stink next year, whether he's here or it's a new coach, because there's so many things they need to do. But
well, they have a lot of salary cap room next year, so they can actually, with a high draft pick plus the salary cap room.
Yeah, but if he's someone
that can build the offense. No,
think
that's the
he's
thing.
going to do something with that?
I am done with him. I was halfway through the season. I was on board with him being removed from the GM roles and still being a coach. Now I just wanted him out of there. I want the whole thing gone and start new, because and part of me, that I listen to a lot of talk radio. I hear a lot of conspiracy theories, and part of me is thinking, like, one of the conspiracy theories is that Belichick actually wants to get fired, because if he gets fired, he still gets the rest of his contract paid for him. Then he can go anywhere he wants and start new. I think him and Kraft are butting heads, and it's he's not gonna quit. He's not gonna let Kraft trade him. He wants to be fired and earn the rest of his contract from Kraft while he goes and finds another job somewhere else.
So, I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but I actually would buy into a little bit of that for a couple of reasons. One is he can say, I didn't abandon the team, right? I didn't quit. I didn't walk away. I got fired. It is what it is. And then he gets his money. So that's another piece of it. And the third thing is that then he can go anywhere. And what does he need? 20 wins to get to Shula, to pass Shula?
Yeah, I think it's less than that, but
right. It's less than that now. So he could pick the team he goes to, I'm going to coach for 3 or 4 years. We're going to get to that 20, I'm going to get to that 20 number, and then I'm going to be done. He'll be 6, 77, retire, go on his boat in Nantucket and be done with it. So it wouldn't really surprise me. I mean, if you're 72 years old, are you looking for a rebuild? Probably not. Right. I mean, I wouldn't think you'd be like, oh, I can't wait to work with this 19-year-old quarterback coming out of college and try and get him to put up some numbers, especially when the number of college quarterbacks that come out that are successful is really low. I mean, you're looking at like 2 out of 10 quarterbacks that,
the problem is that most of the top quarterbacks go to bad teams. So they're being put into it, like Mac Jones was put into a bad situation. The offense was bad, and we thought they spent money, but they went out and got Aguilar, Hunter Henry, Smith on offense, Kendrick Bourne, other people's Devontae Parker, other people's leftovers. These were guys that were good on other teams as second or third part. Like San Francisco had Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and Kendrick Bourne, and then they let Kendrick Bourne go, and he
Right.
can't be the guy by himself. Devontae Parker can't be the guy by himself, and so he took chances. They spent money, but it wasn't well spent on
Mhm.
the offense that year.
Well, I think that the whole structure of the team needs to be looked at. So I'm not saying that if I was Kraft, I wouldn't be looking at whether to fire Belichick or not. I mean, that certainly would be an option for me. But to me, if you look at the team in total, Belichick is not the only problem. And if you fix some of the other problems, I mean, this is probably the conversation that they're having to have, right? If you fix some of the other problems, the offensive line, if you get a new quarterback, if your defense gets healthy, are you a contender? Are you even in the mix? I mean, the Bills are on decline, right? The Dolphins are on the rise, but the Jets are still the Jets. So it's not like the AFC East is not winnable, right? If not this year, obviously, but if you fix some of the pieces that you have, you could
Right.
potentially be contender for the AFC East. And
But
so
Adam, my thing is though, do what you've seen of Bill the past few years, do you trust him to be able to make those things to make those picks, make those trades, free agent signings?
Do I try? Yeah, I mean, I
So
would say
it's
yes. I
all
do trust
So
him.
what?
offensive.
But why? Why do
We
you
need
trust him?
we need
Well,
him to fix the offense. Can he we know he can build a defense.
right.
Can he build an offense now with the way that offenses are now and
Well,
But
so
even something simple like the kicker. Why did we have to let Nick Folk go for this?
wasn't he a lot like 1,000 years old, Nick Folk?
What I don't even know his name.
Chad Ryland?
Thank you.
Well,
I don't even know the kicker's name.
Chad Ryland. I mean, he was a high prospect. Oh, I'm not defending taking a
But
kicker. That's ridiculous.
it's something simple like that. It's things
Yeah.
like that, or even his inability to just not be, pardon me, a complete dick at the press conferences when there's no other coach who stands up there and says, "I'm not going to tell you who we're going to go with. All the quarterbacks are going to be ready." Are you serious?
Yeah, but
what are we waiting for?
But that's him though. I mean, he's been that's 20
Yeah,
plus
but
years of him.
when you were winning, you
But
could
when
do
you're
it.
winning, it's fine. But when you're losing, it gets really old really fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right. Well, listen, I don't want to spend my whole day on the Patriots because
Okay.
my Sundays are ruined every Sunday, as I'm sure yours are. So I
Actually,
don't want to ruin my Wednesdays either.
I'm happy because I want them to lose and get a high draft pick. So
Yeah. So
I'm fine.
now
I'm
we're
fine
all
with
like
what
on
things are
board with
going.
losing. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So let's do
All
a
right.
quick Bruins minute because
Yeah, go for the Bruins. And
sure
I
you
know the
haven't
Bruins
watched much Bruins.
I haven't watched a lot of Bruins, but I will say I've been reading about them, and the fact that these guys are competitive even, and they're at the top of the league is unbelievable because nobody expected it, right?
Right.
Well,
but now they have a 3-game losing streak and
they
all
have not looked good.
their inefficiencies the
And they're
beginning
still
of
at
the
the
year.
top of the list, though.
Like they had their goaltenders were keeping them in these games because they were having all the same problems before, but the goaltenders were bailing them out, and the last 3 games the goaltenders weren't bailing them out, and that's why they've been giving up 5 and 7 goals.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's been
has not been good. No.
Steph, you must be pulling out your hair. I mean, you're the real Bruins fan in the family. I know that.
Well, so I'm not surprised because I knew that as I was watching them do well, I knew that it wasn't going to stay this way. It was going to end because their inability to clear the puck, their defense has looked really bad at a lot of times. And it was their only, and even team members would admit it was the goaltending was the reason why they were winning their games. And you can't keep relying on your goaltending that much and expect to keep doing well.
It's interesting because you
so I knew it was this.
I think your video is like lagging behind again or
I
something.
think
I don't know
there's
what
a
happened.
delay. Yeah.
But I thought you were done. I apologize that I stepped on you. It's
Oh,
interesting because Rubber Shoes, you always talk about how like in the playoffs a goalie can get hot and just you can ride that goalie all the way through the playoffs. Is that kind of what happened here? Is like the Bruins
They've had
started
two
the
goalies, so that. I mean, that's a whole nother thing where
yeah.
they've been literally platooning. It's been every other game except for Ullmark was a little banged up, so they played Swayman 2 games in a row. But it's been pretty much every other game.
every other.
And
Yeah.
I mean, they're the big talk is that if they go through the whole season like this without any major injuries, that they're going to do this in the playoffs, which has never been done before, ever, by any team, that
Yeah.
they've had a strict platoon, because usually you do that. You get the hot goalie and you ride with him until he shows that he can't do it, and then you make a switch. But yeah, and the scary thing is that it's their stars that are not playing well right now in this 3-game
Yes.
losing streak. It's like Marchand, Pasternak, McAvoy. Those have been, and Zaka. No, those Zaka's more of a second tier guy, but it's so they have a few days off. They play again tomorrow night. Hopefully they get some practice and get things figured out going forward.
No.
Oh. She really wants
Come
to
on.
get on.
She wants to
I
talk
know.
about the Bruins, really.
No, I think she wants to talk about Celtics. So that's a good segue.
All right. Well, hey, I'm all for talking about the Celtics
So
for
that
hours on end.
so
I'm happy to do that.
Steph, on the way home today, we were wondering. So or at least my big thing, I asked her what she thought, and so I want to start with the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
So I've actually loved it, to be honest with you. So I have League Pass, so I watch every single Celtics game. We don't get Nesson down here, but I have League Pass and get every single game. I've really enjoyed it. I feel like it has made November NBA basketball actually interesting and something worth watching. I'll watch any of the games anytime because I just love to watch the Celtics. But for the casual fan who's like, yeah, I hope the Celtics win. I want to see them do well, but I'm not, I'll see them in March or April. I'm not going to see it. I don't really care about the games. I'll just look up the score in November. I feel like it's given them an additional something to look forward to. This whole business about the point differential, I don't know. I think the Celtics are, Jaylen Brown and Jrue Holiday were whining about it. I'm like, you guys are professional athletes.
I would like them to change the tiebreaker to your record in the regular, like whatever your record is, not in the in-season game. So use your other games as a tiebreaker.
That's interesting. I didn't think about it that
because
way. Yeah.
the point of like them having to keep their starters out and be over the 23 points last night.
It was ridiculous.
That's kind of you. And Jaylen Brown at the end of the game was like, I didn't want to do that to another team because you know how it is. You've played sports, you've been on that end,
right?
At least once in your life, where it sucks when you're the team getting run up on and the other and they have to keep doing it just for this tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So my problem with it is that, okay, say last night you had to score the 23 points and then you had to have the Nets had to win in order for you to be into this thing. So usually in a blowout like last night, you would not have seen your starters like Tatum and Holiday and Brown in the game late.
Right.
So now you're playing your starters late. That's where things tend to usually happen. So how are you feeling about this tournament if, I don't know, Tatum slips and falls on the court and now he's out for 2 months?
Well, I will say that the courts have been a real problem, number one.
Yeah.
And we did almost lose Jaylen Brown, which would have been completely tragic. I hear what you're saying about leaving the stars in. I do think that there's something they can do about the point differential, whether it's like, the other thing is they only had him play 5 games? It was 4 games.
4.
4 games.
4.
You could have extended it maybe 2 more weeks and had them play, 2 or 3 more games, and then it like spreads the pack out a little bit more. Because the fact that there's in the same group, there's 3-1 teams.
Right.
Yeah, of course there's going to be, because
Maybe you play each team twice instead of
Right.
once.
Yeah, something like that. But I agree. I agree with you. Having the Stars in there makes me nervous. I mean, if it's a 2-point game, different story. But if it's a 30-point blowout and you're playing against the scrappy bench players of the other team who are like, this is my only time to get any run in on the court, and I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to make Jason Tatum look stupid, or I'm going to block Jaylen Brown, and I'm going to, and all of a sudden somebody gets hurt. Yeah, I mean, that made me super nervous last night. I will say
that's the thing. I'm kind of on the fence. I did so last night. I really wasn't into it at all, but last night we're watching the pregame with Skylar. So when you watch on the season pass or whatever it's called, do you get the Celtics broadcast or do you get the national broadcast? Oh, so
no,
do you get to see the pregame stuff too?
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, Scal's been all into this. Like he wants to get the like, the second team and the bench players. He wants to get those guys that extra money, the $500,000. Like it means something to those guys. Not so much Tatum and Brown. They got plenty of money, but your lesser guys on the team, this really means a lot. So I would have loved to have been able to rest our star players, because come playoff time, you want them as fresh as possible. I don't want them to play a person that is, maybe he could use another couple games to rest his ankle, like Holiday.
Right.
So where if they're playing people because of it's the in-season tournament game, that's where I have a problem, is if they're going to play, rush a guy back instead of resting him, where it's, November, we really want this guy for June, not so much November.
The other thing is, if you, go ahead.
Well, because at the end of the day, as much as I think, like you said, the money for the lesser players that's great, that's awesome. Yeah. But when you look back at this seasons from now, are you going to be able to name the team who won whatever the hell tournament they call this?
If it goes the way the
wins
NBA
the
wants to.
You're not going to go, oh yeah, the Celtics won the in-game tournament, but I don't know who won the championship. It's going to be the other way around.
I think the first one everyone's going to remember, and it really bugs me because LeBron wants this so bad.
It's because all he has left.
So, Adam, they're averaging like over 20 points more a game in season tournament games than their regular season. And it's like LeBron wants to win this first one just to say he won it, and it's something Jordan doesn't have.
Right. Right.
Because that's going to be the big difference maker.
Yeah. Like that's a bragging point. Like Jordan didn't have the tournament. I'm sure he would have won one if if they had it when he was playing.
That's what kills me. Look, I hope someone knocks them out, because I do not want but he really wants it. He really wants it bad.
The Lakers are not. I sincerely doubt they are going to win it, to be honest with you. I know he wants to win it, but they just don't have the talent to match up in the Western Conference.
He still has it. He doesn't have enough to win in the playoffs to win another championship, I don't think. But so I don't know if you listen to country music at all. A little bit. You know Toby Keith?
Yeah.
I'm as good as I'm good now as I was, once than I was.
Do you listen to country music?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I forget how it goes, but I think he can. So
that's about right. That's accurate.
He has to get up for 3 more games.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to get up for a whole series.
Right. No, you're right.
So he can play. They were 4-0, I believe, in the tournament.
Yeah, no, they were, yeah, and they like you said, they were blowing teams out pretty much,
And it's not a best of 7. It's one. They played 3 games spread out, or 4 games spread out. It was
Yeah.
over, 4 weeks, and now they're gonna play. They play Monday, or actually, he doesn't. So that this is another thing. The Lakers don't play the first night of the
Of course not.
quarterfinals. Yeah, so he's gonna rest until that next game, and then he'll take it easy until the semifinals, and then he'll take it easy to the finals. He like all the regular season games don't mean anything to him. Only these games do, and he can do it for that one game and then take a week off. That's
So
it's
wouldn't
almost
the
like it was made for him.
wouldn't it probably was, knowing the NBA.
Yeah.
But wouldn't the NBA's dream come true if the first in-season tournament was Lakers Celtics? I mean, that would be, amazing. I mean, yeah, you'd like to have Jokic in the tournament, or you'd like to have, Steph. Steph would be a good star to have in the tournament. But if it was Lakers Celtics, that would be just
that's the other
perfect.
thing. It's like Denver's out, Golden
Yep.
State's out.
I know.
So Milwaukee isn't. So Milwaukee and the Celtics are like the only two top tier like teams that are in the probably top 5 for odds of winning the championship that are
Right.
still in it. Like
I don't know, man. I don't know if I know we blew the Pacers
Orlando.
out.
The
We blew
Pacers,
the
the
Pacers out, but
Knicks.
the Pacers aren't that bad. The Pacers are a good team.
Yeah, but
I'm
they're
not saying we're going to struggle with them. I'm just saying they're not pushovers.
Actually,
And we also got bullied by Orlando, so I hope we don't see them. I will say that.
did they make it?
Yeah, that was pathetic.
Because I think
They did. I think they were the wild card. I think.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah. Speaking of coaches that don't give you much in the press conferences, though, Missoula, who has had his dust ups with what's his guy's name, Gary Washburn from the Globe, and they're constantly going at each other, but when he was being interviewed leading up to that last game last night, he gave nothing. Like, he's like, oh, we don't really care, we don't really pay attention to that, blah 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 blah. We're not, and he basically blew it off like, we're not worried about that. We're just trying to win. Which I guess is the right thing to say, but then you go and look over at their bench when they're up 30, and he's like, oh yeah, go out and foul Andre Drummond so that we can be up 32. Like, they definitely took it seriously, and I hate when coaches or players, I know they're coached, or really like they have like media coaches that teach them to do this, but like when they're not honest about it, it's like, just be honest about it. Yeah, you want to win. We want to be in it. We want to be in Vegas. Like, I don't understand why we're not honest about those things.
You want to win every game. And
right.
It's whether it means a lot or not, you still would rather win it than not win it.
Right. Well, he said something interesting to Scal. He said something, Scal interviews him before the game and he goes, just as, did he say it to Scal or was it in a press conference? I don't know. Either way, he said, as much as I want to win tonight's game, I also want to win a rainy Tuesday when we're not playing. I want to win that practice. And I'm like, okay, I know that's like the right thing to say, but come on, the fans want to hear you say, yeah, I want to punch the Bulls in the mouth is what I want to do.
He's an
but you know what?
That's for sure.
Yeah, he is.
What's weird about him though? So he, Beetle and Zoe interview him, and he is completely different with them.
Really?
He is actually funny. He's engaging. They talk about other things than just basketball. He is total opposite of what he is when he is with the media. It's crazy.
Oh, I'll have to go listen to that because I'm interested in that.
I remember
he's very different.
Steph, do you remember when Belichick used to be on with the Big Show?
Yes.
He was a lot better.
He wasn't bad. Yes, he was. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
because they had Smurlis there and Diossi that he really respected those guys. So I think now it's like when he's on with,
well, Greg Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, he should be nice with Wiggy, but
he is. Yeah. And I think he is. I think he engages with Wiggy, but he could give two shits about the other people.
Yeah. Well, I can't either, so I don't blame him.
I like Belichick, but he like, it's such an asshole thing to be like, I'm gonna treat anybody that's not a former professional football player like trash. Like, I hate when they do that. It's like, this guy's got a job to do. He's interviewing you. It's a contract. He's got to do it. So just treat him well and get through the thing. You don't have to be, Mr. Personality or anything, but at least, warm up to the guy so you can talk to him every week. But that's
I just-
interesting. I'm gonna go listen to that the Missoula interview.
Yeah,
I
he
really
really is different.
also I just don't think that the league should make the coaches every game go out there and do that, especially after a loss. After a loss, I'd be pissed off and irritated and short with people too if
Yeah.
I just lost a game, and I know I feel bad for the reporters because they're just doing their job. They're getting paid to go ask the questions,
Right.
and you're not going to get an answer. So it's nobody really wants to be there.
Well, I
The coach
definitely
doesn't want to
think
be there. The reporters don't want to be there.
right. I think it's a little bit different. Like in the NFL, it's only once a week.
Yeah.
But like in the NHL, the NBA, like these guys are out playing 82 games. Do we need to hear from them on Tuesday and then we hear from them again on
With
Thursday?
the NFL, he's required, I think, on Wednesday to give a press conference,
Right.
and I think Saturday and after the game. I think he's required 3 times during the week to do a press
Yeah,
conference.
but Bill, if he just answered the questions on Wednesday, then you wouldn't have to go
I
through
agree.
the ridiculousness you have to go through with him. If he wasn't he just has to be difficult.
Yeah.
Just answer
No,
the goddamn questions. It's not hard.
A lot of the best things have come out of him being short and difficult, like on to Cincinnati, do your job. All that stuff is like, that's
Right.
him being, kind of a jerk, but we're all like, yeah, when they were winning, it was nice.
Right.
It was awesome.
When
like I
when
loved
you're
it.
successful, it's all right. But now
Right.
it's 7 weeks in a row.
But
Like-
but it's like okay, so Adam,
Yeah.
your wife asks you to, I don't know, mow the lawn.
Right.
And you give her a and then she has to ask you again the next day, can mow the lawn, and you keep not answering her. Instead of just going and mowing the GD lawn and being done with it,
It's
I'm
almost like you live in my
really?
house, Steph.
Just do the damn lawn already, Adam.
Yeah.
Like,
That cuts a little close to the bone, but I hear what you're saying. I know what you're saying. All right. So let's talk about we talked about the in-season tournament. Let's talk about the Celtics in general. We've had a little bit of injury problems, with Holiday had a minor ankle thing. Porzingis, by all accounts, he'll be back, I think, for the Philly game on Friday. So where's your head at with health and how we're feeling about how they're going to progress through the season? Obviously can't predict anything, but you feeling comfortable with those two guys? I mean,
Well,
Holiday's always been pretty solid, but
yeah,
Porzingis
Holiday,
is
I'm not
the
worried
question mark.
about. Porzingis, when we got him, this was my biggest question with him, is because he's always had injuries, except for last year. Last year was like last year and one other season were the most games he played in a season. Other than that, he's been pretty much injury plagued.
Yeah.
And I love him. Seeing him every game. Same with Holiday. Like seeing him every game. Like you knew they were good players, but
Right.
seeing them night after night, you're like, wow, they just add so much to this team. That's the thing. Are they going to be healthy in the playoffs? It's like, I don't think it matters. For some reason, the NBA home court advantage doesn't exist anymore.
Right. I know it's weird.
It's gone away since almost COVID. It seems like it's gone away. It doesn't matter. And so the seed that you're in to go into the playoffs doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
As far as home court advantage.
So, but you don't
Just
think
being healthy.
you wouldn't want to see them be a 4 seed, right? I mean, if your point, you're kind of making the point, like, let's rest Porzingis as long as we have to, right? Because we're doing okay without him. And if Tatum needs some extra time, let's give him extra time, whatever. And, and I think Missoula has done a lot of that. Like if you watch some of the games, his subbing patterns are so weird. But I think he's just kind of trying to figure it out more than anything.
No, I don't need them to, if there's nothing wrong with them, give them days off.
Yeah.
But I did like when, last night, if they were just a regular season game, they could have rested them the fourth quarter. Right. They've had a few games this year where they've been able to do that because they got up by so much and they just sat the whole fourth quarter. That's what I want them to do. I want them to play how they're supposed to play, blow out these bad teams, and rest in the fourth quarter. If you have if you have an injury like Porzingis has now, you know, don't rush him back.
Right.
Let him take an extra game or two off to make sure he's 100. Because the worst thing is to come back a game too early and then re-injure it, and then you're out another month, or it just nags the whole season.
Yeah, in a weird way. I'll go ahead, Steph.
My thing is that I'm concerned with is it's not just health, but I feel like there are times like the Milwaukee game the other night. They were up by what was it, 20 at one point?
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's gone. And
Dame time.
This team still doesn't know how to just keep the foot on, like keep your foot on the gas, just go. And I don't know what it is about them, but I still just don't trust them. And I know they're talented and I know they have what it takes, but sometimes it's just, I don't know where they go, what they do, if they just think that they show up and, oh, we got this lead where it's automatic and they cruise and then they lose it. And it's like this, like that Orlando game the other night, that was frustrating. They shouldn't have lost to that team.
No, they shouldn't have. And I mean, to your point, they go through these stretches of like 4, 5, 6, sometimes 6 minutes of just ice cold. They just get ice cold. And part of that is because they're such a heavy 3-point shooting team, right? So, and if you start to miss your shots, you're missing your shots. But the one thing that I've seen as like a little bit of a glimmer of hope is that Tatum, Brown, definitely, and even like the role players when Hauser and Pritchard come in, they're not always settling for the three. They are driving to the basket. And I think when they're hot and they're, shooting well, great, stick to the three. But if you start to miss a couple in a row, let's get, drive to the basket a couple of times. Let's get fouled. Let's go to the line. Let's drive and kick so somebody gets a wide open three as opposed to a three with somebody's hand in his face. The one thing Tatum does, and he makes a lot of these shots, so I'm not complaining too much, but the one thing that he does is he'll take the ball at the top of the key and dribble for 10 seconds between the legs, behind the back, and then he'll just pull up.
Peeve.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're bigger, you're stronger, you're faster than all of these guys. Just go buy them. Like, and he does do that sometimes, but it drives me nuts.
The thing, though, is when they are looking their best, they're moving the ball around.
Yes. Yep.
And that when they do that ISO ball, or I call hero ball, it drives me nuts. And okay, I got a question. So do you look at stats all the time? Like, do you know the stats?
I'm not obsessed. I'm not obsessed.
So I want to ask you, eyeball test, what you've seen in the games. Who do you think has more turnovers, Tatum or Brown?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm guessing you're trying to stump me on this one. So my guess is it's the actual answer is Tatum. But if I was being honest about my eye test, I would say Brown.
Yep. Because we've been so concentrated because of his turnovers in the playoffs that we're like, oh, every time Brown turns the ball over, I'm like, oh,
everybody goes
again, turnover again. Yep.
Yeah.
So Tatum has like 20 more turnovers than
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. I looked it up the other day. I was like, holy crap,
that's crazy. Yeah. Well, what's funny is I even in that Bulls game yesterday, there were like 3 or 4 possessions where I'm like, what are you doing? Like he basically just threw it to the other team. I'm like, it's not like he's dribbling and dribbles it off his foot, which he does do that sometimes too. But like you're just like throwing the ball away. Sometimes I don't understand what's going on. And I know, he's got a lot of pressure on him. He's the number one guy. But you would think with Porzingis and Brown and Holiday and even Derek White, we haven't even talked about Derek White, he'd have a lot less pressure than last year. I mean, last year he had to be like the number one scorer.
Like I really want to watch some old games because I feel in the 80s, 90s, like the really good players would dominate. Like Kobe would take over a game, and I don't feel like he turned the ball over a lot. And that's the thing with Tatum and Brown. It's like these are supposed to be your superstars. Like I don't remember Bird having bad turnovers and Jordan having bad turnovers and Isaiah Thomas and all these elite Magic Johnson. never seemed like you see these bad turnovers, and especially in crunch time. And that's
Right.
another thing with Tatum. It seems like his free throw percentage is good, but it seems like the misses he has is at the end of the
Crucial.
game.
Like the worst possible time.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. It's ridiculous. Well, I will say that I think recency bias a little bit here, because I'm sure that Jordan and Bird and all those
That's
guys
why I
you
like
mentioned,
to
I'm sure they did
go
have
back and
turnovers,
watch the
obviously.
games.
Yeah. But because now all you see is the highlights, right? You don't see
Right.
any of the
Yeah.
actual games themselves. The other thing is, I will say that I think, I think I've talked about it on the show before. My girls are going through the basketball thing, like, they're playing a lot of basketball, and the way that we train kids to play basketball now is so different than it was when we grew up. Like, they're taught to be one-on-one players. I mean, that's what they're taught to be.
Ugh.
And it's like, if they get a good coach, they're taught to pass the ball a little bit, but for the most part, there's this gym in Milford where kids go and exclusively, like, it's not even a full court gym. It's just a half court gym, and they work on exclusively ball handling and shooting. That's all they work on. And it's like, well, it's necessary, it's needed, those skills are needed, but that's not what makes a good, well-rounded basketball player. So then you go to some of these games and you see these kids, they're amazing dribblers, can't pass the ball to save their life. Kid gets wide open in a backdoor cut, they can't pass it to him. So it's sort of a culture thing, I think.
I feel hockey is the same way, because
oh, really?
So actually, I play Tuesday and Friday mornings. This past Tuesday, we had a young kid play with us. He was probably 18, 19 years old, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And he didn't pass. He's trying to do the between the legs shots and stuff like that. It's like, dude,
well, he probably figured he was playing with a bunch of old guys.
Well, the biggest thing, and Adam, you'll know this as a basketball coach.
Yeah.
Because basketball and hockey is the same thing. A pass is going to get down the other end quicker than dribbling 100%. Or someone skating it out by themselves. Two passes, boom, you can be down the other end of the court like that, like in a second.
Right.
And if you try to dribble all the way down, it's like taking 7 seconds.
Yeah, but if I think back to, like, when I really loved basketball, and that was in the 80s, that game was so much better. And it was just more exciting. Now it's turned into just hucking up threes. That's a big part of all
I really
these
do think the three-pointer changed it. I still enjoy it, but it definitely changed it to not as good as it was back in the
game was so much better. And honestly, hockey was better. I mean, they took fighting out of the game, and it's just, that was one of, I mean, if I went to a Bruins game and I saw some good fights, but they lost, I still felt like I saw a good game.
Yeah.
Well,
I know that sounds ridiculous.
The New Jersey Devils and Bettman killed hockey. Bettman,
they don't allow fighting anymore?
Well, it's
they got away from it.
Yeah, so if
they don't let it happen.
Extra penalty. So if you're an instigator, you get 2 minutes for fighting and then 2 minutes extra for being the instigator, unless they both go. If you're a third person in, that's an extra penalty. Like before, it was just,
oh my God,
everyone would start fighting and everyone just got, majors for fighting. That's it. Now there's all these extra things because they want to keep people from not joining in. Also, it's another penalty if you purposely take your helmet off.
Why is that a penalty?
Because, well, they're worried about people like it. So it never happened in the 80s or the 70s that guys like fell back and hit their heads and knocked themselves out. And but that's what they're worried about. The whole concussion thing is a big worry, but it never happens. Like when these guys are fighting, yes, they want to beat each other up, but they still have respect for each other for the most part. It's not not like you're not trying to kick the guy's legs out and have him slam his head on the. You kind of hold each other up while you throw the punches. So they've and the the thing with the New Jersey Devils, they were the team that came up with the zone in hockey, where if you do you watch any hockey right now, Adam?
Not now, no. I did
So
when I was younger, but
right now, when a team is on a power play,
yeah,
they have to like run plays just to get the puck into the
no way.
zone. Like
Oh my
before,
God.
they used to just skate in, set up
Right.
the power play.
Yeah.
Now they have to like do all these fancy things just to get the puck, because they're setting up a zone in the middle zone to prevent them from just coming up. In the New Jersey Devils are the team that started all that back in the
Wow.
90s.
That
So
must make it
that's
so
kind
much
of
more
ruined.
boring.
Oh, it
Like
is.
the power
It's
play was always the fun part, right?
yeah. And they've definitely, the games are not this, and scoring is way down in
Yeah.
hockey compared to what it was.
It's funny because the leagues, well, big businesses ruin sports, right? I mean, now these teams are worth billions of dollars, and it's just now it's just a corporate thing, and it's so annoying. And I hate to be like, in my day it was so much better, because I'm sure there was BS back in the day too, but it really is like these guys, if Tatum or Bergeron goes down and gets hurt, like your season could be over basically, right? And that's millions and millions and millions of dollars for these owners. So they're like, oh no, we're going to make sure that everybody, this is what happened in football when they started protecting the quarterbacks. And it's brutal. I mean, they've started to sort of figure out how to play within those rules, but it's still kind of hurts the game, I think. I mean, it really makes it less exciting. It makes it not as fun to watch. And, the competition level is lower too, because everybody's worried about getting hurt. And I get it.
So
I mean, if I was a professional athlete, I wouldn't want to get hurt either. But
there was a sack on Mac Jones 2 or 3 weeks ago that they called roughing the passer on the defensive player, and it was I think so. It was against the team that I'm not rooting for, and I was up in arms like, what the hell do you want this guy to do? He legit, the Mac Jones still had the ball, and he tackled him from behind, and it's like, what do you want these guys to do? It's
and
like,
they called it roughing the passer.
Yes, it's like just
Wow.
put flags on the quarterbacks and have them pull the flags off. If that it's getting to that point right now. You can't do anything to the quarterbacks, which I understand, but don't. I feel bad for the defensive players because they don't know what a penalty is.
Right. Well, it's the same
but
way.
It's like in basketball, the hanging on the rim. Like, what are they supposed to do when it's the most absurd
that was
thing
the worst
ever.
technical foul ever.
Yeah.
That is the dumbest thing.
It's one thing if they're showboating. It's another thing if they're just trying to, protect themselves or the
land
person
on
below them.
Yes.
Not land.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know what they want them to do. It's ridiculous.
And one of the most exciting plays in basketball was when Shaq used to hang on the rim and pull the rim down. Yeah. I know it was a pain in the neck. They had to redo the rim and everything, but that was so much fun. I mean, I still remember the first time I saw him break a backboard like that. Like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Yeah. And it's insane. Now, I mean, Tatum hung on it for what, like half a second, and they're like, oh, technical foul.
He got, yeah.
And you know what? I saw one from, it was either Sunday or Monday night, that another team, and it was probably twice as long as what Tatum did. It still wasn't, he wasn't doing anything flashy.
Yeah.
It was like twice as long as what Tatum hung on, and they didn't call anything. That's another thing with a lot of the official in all the leagues.
Yeah.
That you don't know what they're going to call from night to night. You just have no idea. Or even in a game, they can call it, in the first quarter, and they're not going to call it in the call every game the same way and during the whole game. Just not
right.
Oh, it's crunch time in the fourth quarter, we can't call it because it might affect. If you call it earlier in the game, then they know it's a penalty and they won't do it at the end of the game.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's the officiating will always be a topic of conversation, but it's true. If it's not consistent, that is when it gets irritating, because if it's even on both sides, both teams, fine. Even if it's crappy, at least it's fine on both sides. But if it's, not consistent on one side and not consistent on the other, or like you said, early in the game, it's one thing and late in the game, it's another thing, that starts to get out of control a little bit. So, All right, so we covered the Celtics. Excellent. Was there anything else? I know you do like a tease now on all the socials. Was there anything on your tease that we needed?
So the only thing I teased that we didn't really talk about was the possible draft pick for the Patriots, but I think we're good with the Patriots. We've talked enough
we
about
talked way
that
too much
disappointment
Patriots already.
Yeah, we
All right.
could talk about draft picks when. Although I just saw something today that Caleb Williams, who before the season was the definite number one quarterback coming out of college. Now,
Right.
The season he's had has been kind of, I think his stock has dropped. He's come out and said it's going to be a game time decision whether he even comes out this year or not.
Oh, interesting.
He says
okay.
he might go back one more
Yeah,
year
because he doesn't want to come out and be, a 10th pick. He wants to be the
Yeah.
number one pick. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, makes sense. All right. Listen, Rubber Shoes, Mother Shoes, thank you guys for joining us. If you want to go check
Thank
out
you.
the Rubber Shoes rant and wrap up, it is on all of our socials, which you can get to at atbshow.com. We are brought to you by AAA Work Trucks, your one-stop shop. No, Rubber Shoes, you got to say it because I don't have it memorized.
Your one-stop shop for all your work truck needs. We'll just leave
Perfect.
it at that.
All right, AAAWorkTrucks.com. We will be back to full strength next week for the first time in feels like a decade, but it's only been a few weeks. But I think we will be back to full strength next week, Wednesday night at 5:00. We're looking forward to it. In the meantime, enjoy the in-season tournament. We'll have a lot more to talk about that next week.